The childhood sweetheart I was betrothed to has become a renowned and formidable general. He brought me to Chang'an. Just as we entered the city gate, a bejeweled princess stopped us. I share a deep affection with the general. Know your place and step aside on your own. My eyes reddened with anger. Feeling the account book in the bundle, I thought to myself that if that heartless man dared to change his heart, I would pack up and return to Jiangnan to continue running my rouge shop that night. However, someone embraced me from behind. My dear, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. I had imagined countless scenes of reuniting with Zhong Ci. He should have held me tightly with reddened eyes, saying with heartache, "You've worked hard all these years." And I would also be unable to hold back my tears, telling him, "For you, it's worth it." But the reality is, a girl decked out in gold and silver stood in front of me, arrogantly demanding that I give up my position as the legal wife, saying she would throw me a bone to eat in the future. My mother-in-law, grandmother-in-law, and two sisters-in-law took turns attacking me, hurling the most vicious insults. I lowered my head, pretending to be timid and fearful, until Zhong Ci hurried over. He first scolded his own sisters, then persuaded the elders, and finally addressed the woman in lavish attire respectfully, calling her princess, begging her not to take the family's behavior to heart. Throughout the whole process, he only glanced at me indifferently. 10 years have passed. That sunny, cheerful young man who once had eyes only for me has truly changed. Although letters have been exchanged over the years, filled with longing between the lines, they ultimately couldn't withstand the erosion of time. In the carriage on the way back to the mansion, I didn't hear a word of what they said, my mind entirely preoccupied with planning an escape route. The general's mansion was extremely grand, with the servants eagerly addressing me as madam at every turn. The room I stayed in was even more luxurious. Any single decoration was worth several years of income from my tea shop, after the maids had all withdrawn. I was just pondering how much that jade gourd could be sold for when Zhong Ci suddenly embraced me from behind, his voice tinged with grievance. "It's been 10 years apart, and in your eyes, I'm still not as good as these lifeless objects." Of course not. At least it doesn't fool around outside. And I certainly wouldn't be stopped and humiliated in front of everyone. "Darling, you've wronged me to death." I had never met that princess before. It was just on my way to the capital that I happened to save her life. How was I to know she'd cling to me, insisting on repaying me with her hand in marriage? If I had known she'd repay kindness with enmity, I would never have lifted a finger to help her back then. "Darling, you must believe me. My heart for you is as clear as the sun and moon, as evident as the vast sea." He spoke with such conviction and deep emotion, just as he always had. I stared at him, trying hard to find any evidence of a lie on that familiar face, yet he laughed with such unrestrained joy, his cold, fierce eyes filled with sincerity. I struggled a bit but couldn't break free, so I laughed and scolded, "You certainly have a silver tongue. I must explain properly. Otherwise, if my wife gets angry and ignores me, what am I supposed to do?" Zhong Ci then leaned in to kiss me. I turned my head away to avoid it. He froze for a moment, then looked utterly wronged. "Wife, you won't let me kiss you? Been traveling non-stop, I'm all dirty." "That's no problem at all. I've already had hot water prepared. Let me take you to get cleaned up." "No, Zhong Ci, the dirt wasn't really dirt, and getting cleaned up wasn't just a simple wash. Lunch was missed, and dinner was almost not made. The maid requested at the door that dinner was ready, asking when the general would like to eat." Asking the general? This is my courtyard. "Darling, are you hungry? Should I bring the food into the room, or shall we go eat at Grandma's place?" "Let's go to Grandma's." "All right, darling, I'll get your coat for you." Zhong Ci was all eagerness and warmth. I held back the sarcastic remark that was on the tip of my tongue. After getting dressed, he went to open the door. The maids came in carrying basins and holding towels. I noticed the basin was gleaming gold and looked at Zhong Ci. He nodded with a smile. Money shouldn't be spent like this. And he has just been appointed general. His footing in Chang'an is still unstable. What if someone catches him by the handle? This was bestowed by the emperor, and it's the only one we have. If it was bestowed by the emperor, shouldn't it be enshrined? I didn't give it to grandma or mother, only to you. See how good I am to you. I couldn't help but laugh. People often talk about washing their hands in a golden basin, but is he washing his face in one? I'm not used to being waited on. Especially by these maids and old servants who appear respectful, but the respect they show isn't for me, so I prefer to take care of myself. After tidying up, I left the washroom. Zhong Xi sat on a stool, with maids and old servants kneeling before him in a crowd. What's going on? Zhong Xi immediately stepped forward to support my hand, speaking gently yet firmly. You are the mistress of this general's manor. Naturally, both major and minor matters, from daily necessities to food and lodging, should be decided by you. If every trivial matter is brought to me, do I look that idle? As for them, some were bestowed by the emperor, others were bought from outside. They are here to serve you as maids and servants. If any of them dare to cause trouble, as the mistress, you have the authority to punish, dismiss, or sell them off without consulting anyone. Their deeds of sale are all here. I'll bring them to you in a moment. Upon hearing this, the maids and elderly female servants lowered their heads even further. I greatly appreciate Zhong Xi's delegation of authority, so on the way to Grandma's for dinner, he held my hand, I tickled his palm, and held it back in return. It was rare for the whole family to sit together for a meal. Zhong Xi had made a name for himself, becoming the most accomplished young man in the Yang family. Grandma, as usual, seemed no different, while father and mother spoke with a subtly lowered demeanor. I knew what they were planning and why they were acting this way. Back in the day when conscription came, we had only been married for half a year. It shouldn't have been Zhong Xi's turn. His two older brothers refused to go, and his parents couldn't bear to send their youngest. His father insisted on sending Zhong Xi by name. Zhong Xi was willing to go and make something of himself, but afraid he might not return, he demanded that his parents divide the household, separating our branch from the rest. That way, even if he wasn't home, I wouldn't be held back by his parents or bullied by his brothers and younger brothers' wives. All these years, though Zhong Xi never came home, he wrote often. As he rose step by step in rank, his parents treated me fairly well. With Grandma's support, I opened a dessert shop and never lacked for food or clothing. His brothers and younger brothers' wives didn't dare bully me at will. Now his parents are lowering their stance, probably wanting to reunite the family and have Zhong Xi support this whole big household. Whenever his parents brought up the topic, Zhong Xi would always brush it off with a joke, and then say to Grandma with a straight face, "Don't worry, Grandma, I'm working hard on it. I guarantee there'll be good news in a few months. I'll do my best to have 2 kids with iron in 3 years, and 3 and 5, I punched him. Does he think I'm a breeding sow? To have so many kids." Zhong Xi held my hand. Grandma said with a smile, all right, then you two must work hard and let me hold my great-grandchild soon. While this old lady still has some energy left, I can help take care of it for a few years. Whenever Zhong Xi wants to charm someone, he's sure to make them bloom with joy, just like how he charmed me back then. And now, he charms his grandma the same way. He said that now that he has made something of himself, Grandma should enjoy her later years in peace. As for the hard work of taking care of children, there are maids and nannies for that. She only needs to eat and drink well, take good care of herself, stay healthy, and live a few more years. That would be Zhong Xi's greatest blessing. He made the elderly woman both cry and laugh. She felt heartbroken that he had suffered so much on the battlefield, yet was also relieved that he had returned alive and had such a bright future ahead. As for Zhong Xi's parents, he didn't seem to pay them much attention, and he wasn't particularly warm toward his 2 sisters either. Returning to the main courtyard, Zhong Xi said he wanted to have an honest talk with me. What about, you've been too distant with me, and I want to know why. First of all, in the 10 years I spent at the border, I never slept with any military prostitutes, nor did I keep any maids or concubines. And I certainly didn't get involved with any young widows or father any illegitimate children. The matter with the princess was an accident, and I will handle it properly. Let's not bring that up for now. As for those adopted children, they were all either beggars I picked up or children I bought from human traffickers. You know that. As for the money, I mentioned in my letter that sending you too much would draw attention and wouldn't be good for you, but I've given you enough for food, drink, and daily expenses. I've also warned our parents they wouldn't dare to mistreat you. Otherwise, if I die on the frontier, so be it. But if I survive, I'll surely confront them and demand justice for you. After 10 years apart, I thought our reunion would be warm and affectionate, full of tenderness. But you've been cold and distant toward me. Ian, have I done something wrong? Tell me, and I'll change. If what he said was true, it wasn't him who was at fault, it was me. Being overly suspicious and petty, I couldn't help but bury my face in his chest and weep aloud. I wept for the child I lost from collapsing due to exhaustion, and for these past 10 years, if not for Grandma's support, teaching me to be independent and strong, to keep the money I earned to myself and tell no one how much silver I had, sparing me from much scheming. As for my in-laws, they understood Zhong Xi's temperament all too well and indeed never mistreated me. And because we lived separately from the family, my brothers and sisters-in-law treated me with a degree of courtesy. I just, feeling wronged and afraid, 10 years apart, every night spent alone in bed unable to sleep, running the shop single-handedly, the bitterness and hardship are too many to put into words. The daughter I raised for years, her birth parents came looking for her, took her away, and since then there's been no news. I don't know if she's alive or dead, or how she's doing. As for Zhong Xi, he has been rising step by step, and could have any woman he wants. I only know a few characters, I'm not a stunning beauty, and I'm already old. Whether I can even bear children is uncertain. I dare not make a scene, dare not speak out. I can only cling to my fragile self-respect. If he is heartless and unfaithful, I will not degrade myself. Zhong Xi did not offer words of comfort, nor did he say much. He simply patted my back gently. Only when I cried until I was sobbing and hiccuping did he say, after letting it all out, "Do you feel a little better? All these years, I've known you've suffered grievances. I've also thought about bringing you to the frontier. But, as the commander of an army, if I don't lead by example, how can I command respect? You should believe me, no matter what position I hold, I'm still that Zhong Xi who used to chase after you. There are countless women in this world, but only one Wen Yang. Whether it's the princess who stopped you today or those women who claim they don't care about fame and fortune and want to marry me, they're all hypocrites, only after the wealth and glory my status can bring them. A wife who shared hardships should never be abandoned. Those who betray a sincere heart deserve to be cut into 1,000 pieces and die without a burial place." I tightly covered his mouth. "Don't say any more, I believe you. Does it hurt where you're injured?" Zhong Xi chuckled, not angry anymore. I couldn't help but punch him hard. He held my hand, kissing it over and over, and sighed, "In this world, you're the only one who cares whether I'm in pain or not. It hurts. How could it not? Several times I was on the brink of death, almost didn't make it. I kept thinking, if I really died, what would you do? Remarry? I wouldn't allow that. Thinking of you, I'm filled with motivation again." He said it lightly. But the hardships behind it are only understood by soldiers who have been on the battlefield and faced life and death. That he could return alive was not only due to his tough fate but also the protection of heaven. As long as not a single word you say is false, I won't argue with you. Let's live our lives well together. I, Zhong Xi, swear to heaven, if even one word I say is false, may I be struck by lightning. May I not? I covered his mouth, even if what he said was false. I still wished for him to live well. Zhong Xi chuckled foolishly once again. "Stop laughing. Quickly tell me, how much do we have? How are we going to arrange our daily meals, clothing, housing, and transportation from now on? As for Grandma, that goes without saying, and then there's father, mother, auntie." Grandma's sighed. "You handle it as you see fit. As for father and mother, I'll take care of it. Come, I'll take you to see how much we have." I thought it was already good enough that he was leading me across, but then he insisted on carrying me on his back. He claimed it was to make up for those 10 years. Zhong Xi had indeed accumulated quite a lot over the past decade, with gold bars being the most plentiful. Those treasures may be priceless, but you and I, after all, have limited knowledge and shallow insight. We can't fully grasp their true value. Gold, on the other hand, is straightforward. An ounce is an ounce, a pound is a pound. I couldn't agree more with what he said. It's just those boxes of calligraphy and paintings, rolled up and tossed into the cases. I unrolled one to take a look, and aside from being beautiful, I couldn't make heads or tails of it. As for treasures like these, aside from their beauty, I know nothing else about them. Gold and silver are still the most reliable. Cheesy as it may be, jade is priceless. While gold and silver have their price, amid my exclamations of wow, 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 Zhong Si asked proudly, "So, your man didn't lie, did he?" Yeah, you didn't lie. From now on, these will be our family's hidden assets. Keep them out of sight and don't let outsiders see them. And don't tell anyone about them. The tens of thousands of tales of silver on the books, along with the warehouses, estates, and shops, those can be known to outsiders. Some things just can't be hidden. The items in this cellar shouldn't be used unless absolutely necessary, and these things aren't in the main courtyard, but beneath the courtyard where Zhong Si practices martial arts, next to the main one. Beyond that lies the garden, Zhong Si's study, and the guest reception area. On the way back, Zhong Si still carried me on his back. I feel this man has changed, with more tricks up his sleeve. He might have other places too. As the saying goes, a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. If he doesn't want to say, I won't ask. These things are already plenty, enough to keep me well fed and well clothed for several lifetimes. Zhong Si. I kept calling his name, and he got so annoyed that he stopped responding. So I pinched his ear. Be good, call me husband. I won't, you're asking for it. I regretted my loose tongue, especially when facing a man who had been celibate for 10 years. The next day, I slept until the sun was high in the sky. And if it weren't for the maid helping me up, I might not have been able to get out of bed. The maid said Zhong Si had gone out early and told me not to be disturbed, so I could get a good sleep. This man, as if afraid others wouldn't know what he did last night. Madam, would you like to have lunch directly, or would you prefer something else? Lunch directly. After lunch, the maid mentioned that as instructed by Zhong Si, the manager of the largest tailor shop in Chang'an had come to take measurements for the masters to have clothes made. The elderly lady and the aunts had already made their selections. Then let's go over as well. If one were to ask who in this world cares for Zhong Si the most, it is actually Grandma. His parents never valued him much, and mostly even ignored him. His 2 sisters treated him neither well nor badly, but the elder sister-in-law was quite good to me. While the younger sister-in-law occasionally asked me for some money to spend, and she still showed me respect, never giving me scornful looks or sarcastic remarks. Oh dear, our general's wife has finally woken up, elder sister. Faced with my sister-in-law's teasing, I felt quite embarrassed. I adjusted my clothes to try and cover up the marks left by that fellow Zhong Si in the heat of the moment. My sister-in-law was even more amused. We've all been there, I won't laugh at you. I hurried to choose the dress styles. The shopkeeper said Zhong Si had already purchased a lot of fabric, paid for it, and brought over the samples for me to look at. If there were any patterns or colors I didn't like, they could be exchanged. Fine. The colors Zhong Si picked were all quite good. Some of the brighter ones didn't suit me or my elder sister-in-law, but they would look lovely on my younger sister-in-law. The deeper, richer colors would suit grandma and mother-in-law. These are all very nice. Let's go with these. Yes, I'll go back and cut the fabric needed for the clothes, then have the remaining cloth sent to the general's residence. Thank you for your hard work. Not at all, not at all. After having the tailor shop owner seen out, the mother-in-law sighed and said, "This is the first time I've ever had so many sets of dresses made all at once. I wonder how Dalang and the others are doing," Grandma retorted with a cold laugh. "If you're so worried about them and can't rest easy, take a carriage back tomorrow and keep watch over them. Grandma is formidable." I wouldn't dare say that. Saying it would be unfilial. Mother-in-law mumbled that she didn't mean it that way. She was just sighing with emotion. Then you need to be clear. Zhong Si and his brothers have long since separated their households. If he's willing to help his brothers, it's out of kindness, not obligation, as their birth mother. If you can't even pretend to be fair, at least don't let your heart lean so far to one side it's practically in your armpit. Otherwise, don't blame me for sending you straight back home. Mother-in-law agreed quietly. Grandma told them all to return to their own courtyards and not to wander around in front of her unless necessary. Keeping me behind to talk was also to remind me to manage the household well and, at the same time, to have a child with Zhong Si as soon as possible. Our remote village has limited medical expertise, so why not have Zhong Si invite a royal physician to examine you? We should focus on recuperation and proper conditioning. You're still young, there's plenty of time to recover. I'll follow Grandma's advice. Zhongxi acted swiftly, and the royal physician arrived the very next day. After taking my pulse, he declared me to be in good health. Although I had suffered a miscarriage, careful nurturing had preserved my condition, and with some, I would be fine. Zhongxi's eyes widened in shock. He had no idea we had lost a child. I failed to protect him. After seeing the imperial physician off, Zhongxi sat before me with a grim expression. You've kept me in the dark so thoroughly. Speak, what happened? I weighed my words carefully. At first, I didn't know. It happened that Grandma was seriously ill, and I was taking care of her day and night. I thought my discomfort was just exhaustion and didn't pay much attention to it. It wasn't until I fainted and fell, losing the child, that I realized, thinking of that lost child, my heart felt as if pierced by a knife. Zhongxi was so furious that he kicked over a stool and shouted angrily, "Are they dead? Are you the only granddaughter-in-law to take care of Grandma?" He let out a cold laugh. Yes, what can I expect from them? Grandma could raise several children all by herself, yet those children can't even support one old mother. What can I expect from them? Zhongxi crouched in front of me, pressing his face against my stomach, and asked hoarsely, "Why didn't you tell me? On the battlefield, blades and arrows have no eyes. How could I dare to tell you and distract you? I have been anxious, complained, and even resented, but none of these were directed at Zhongxi. He has not wronged me. Thank you for taking good care of Grandma for me. Ian, we will have many children and grandchildren in the future, and live a good life together. It will definitely happen." After Zhongxi learned about the child, his attitude toward his parents and sisters, how should I put it? It was like, you can eat and live in the general's mansion, but all expenses have a limit. If you exceed it, don't even think about getting an extra penny. Want to send things from the general's mansion back to your hometown? Not a chance. The steward he brought back was a brother who had fought alongside him through life and death on the frontier. He had lost an arm, but he was very capable. She brought back 2 matrons from the palace. One taught me the etiquette for attending court audiences, how to manage the household, and how to interact with the ladies of other families. The other taught me how to regulate my health to conceive sooner. Zhongxi advised me not to stay cooped up in the general's residence all the time, suggesting I take Grandma out to tea houses for some tea, enjoy some music, and stroll through various shops, buying whatever I fancied. If I happened to run into that princess, I should hold back for the time being and avoid any direct confrontation with her. Since there's a chance of offending someone, I might as well stay indoors for now. Sorting through the warehouse, I need to know what's in there, whether it's valuable or not, and how much it's worth. I want to take good care of my health with Grandma, and I really feel like listening to opera. We could hire a small troupe to perform at home. It's not expensive, and they sing well. The opera troupe earns a living, and we get to enjoy the show. It's a win-win situation. After a busy month or so, I've learned a lot from following the 2 matrons. An imperial decree from the palace arrived, summoning my grandmother and me to see the empress. Dressed in our finest clothes and adorned with precious jewelry, my grandmother and I nervously boarded the carriage and headed toward the palace. The empress was beautiful and very young, with a clear, resonant voice and a hearty laugh. This was nothing like what I had imagined. "Grandmother Zhong, please have a seat." Zhongxi's wife, "Come closer and let me have a good look at you." The empress asked me to step closer, and I noticed that one of her eyes seemed unable to move, while the other didn't seem to have very good vision either. "Indeed, you are truly exceptional. No wonder Zhongxi holds you so dear to his heart. You have no idea, back at the frontier, he was so fierce in battle. I thought if he wasn't married, I would arrange a good match for him. Guess what he said? He said, 'Your Majesty, I already have a wife at home. She is wonderful, the love of my life. If Your Majesty insists on arranging a marriage for me, I can only atone for it with my death.' General Zhong is loyal, righteous, and true to his word. He is a good man, and you are very fortunate." I quickly agreed. The empress praised Grandma, saying she had raised a fine child. The praise never repeats. Anyway, I could never come up with those lavish compliments. The emperor has arrived. The emperor's laughter was even more exuberant than the empress's. When he walked in, Anai and I were kneeling, just able to see that he walked with a slight limp. I also saw a pair of familiar shoes. It was Zhongxi. My anxious and nervous heart eased a little. Grandmother Zhong, please rise quickly, and Madame Zhong, you may also rise. The emperor inquired after Grandmother Zhong's well-being and then expressed his admiration for her having raised such a fine grandson, back on the battlefield. Had it not been for Zhong Xi risking his life to save him time and again, speaking of Zhong Xi venturing alone deep into the snowy mountains to search for him and the empress. The emperor couldn't help but choke up with emotion, and the empress consort comforted him. This time, the empress injured her eye, I injured my leg, and Zhong Xi almost didn't make it. Grandma Zhong, you raised a fine grandson. Grandma nodded with reddened eyes. Yes, yes, my Zhong Xi is a good child, loyal, righteous, and true to his word. He truly is a good man. The emperor and empress praised Zhong Xi, and while speaking to grandma, they also commended me for being affectionate. Our Yang is filial. All these years, it's been thanks to her careful care, or else there wouldn't be this old midwife anymore, Grandma said, holding my hand. The emperor laughed and said, no wonder you were so protective of your sister-in-law on the day we entered the city, Grandma. From the initial grandma of the Zhong family to the present grandma, from the wife of the Zhong family to the sister-in-law, I was flattered and found it hard to believe. The emperor then remarked, that Zhong Xi fellow really has a way with the ladies. Your Majesty, you must not speak nonsense. For me, those women are not some kind of romantic fortune, but rather a stroke of bad luck. They don't admire me at all. They clearly admire the silver in my pocket and the power in my hands. Princess Pingning. She keeps saying it was love at first sight. Love my foot. I know exactly what I look like. In this world, only my grandmother truly loves me. Yang doesn't mind my poverty. The emperor and empress trust and value me, and as for those brothers who've faced life and death with me, their loyalty goes without saying. It's all in my heart. What woman would come to me out of the blue to confess her feelings with good intentions? To put it bluntly, could Princess Pingning really fancy me? What she fancies is the military power I hold, the command over 100,000 troops stationed in the capital's outskirts, rather than having the thief covet it. I will return this military authority to your Majesty. Nonsense. I only said one thing, and you come up with a whole list of grievances. Zhong Xi immediately retorted with grievance, but wasn't it your Majesty who told me to speak? Then the two men, both past the age of 30 and together adding up to 60 years, both snorted coldly in unison, refusing to look at each other, and then both uttered words of apology in unison. Your Majesty, it is my fault. Zhong Xi, it is my fault. The empress covered her forehead and laughed helplessly, saying, Grandma, sister-in-law, let's not stay with these two fools, lest we become as foolish as them. Come, come, I'll take you for a stroll around the imperial garden. I immediately stood up to support Grandma. Grandma gently patted the back of my hand, signaling me to relax. We followed behind Her Majesty the Empress, and from within the grand hall, the voices of the Emperor and Zhong Xi could still be heard murmuring. I turned to look and saw the two of them whispering to each other. I had no idea what Zhong Xi said, but the Emperor patted him on the shoulder and said, You rascal. Zhong Xi smiled and looked at me. But I quickly turned my head away and hurried to catch up with the Empress. After dining on the imperial feast in the palace and receiving many rewards, I left the palace just before the gates were locked for the night. Once in the carriage, Grandma couldn't help but say, when we get back, I'll have to ask the kitchen to make me a bowl of noodles. Although the imperial meal was excellent, the Emperor and Empress only took a bite of each dish, so we couldn't very well keep eating heartily. Mainly because the palace maid serving us didn't give us extra portions. I couldn't help but say, I'm not full either. Zhong Xi chimed in, me too. The three of us looked at each other and then burst into laughter. Finally, Zhong Xi suggested we go to a restaurant for a proper meal. Grandma smiled and sipped a little wine. Zhong Xi poured me a drink, and I smiled at him but didn't drink. Why, this wine isn't intoxicating, nor is it strong. Silly, my period hasn't come this month. I might be pregnant. Zhong Xi froze. Grandma smiled and told someone to quickly go fetch a doctor. While waiting for the doctor to arrive, Zhong Xi paced back and forth, not eating his meal, not drinking his wine. He stared at my belly, looking again and again. Are you pregnant? Am I going to be a father? Ahaha, hey. When the doctor arrived and took my pulse, he said it seemed likely. though it was still early and not certain, but it was pretty much a sure thing. Zhong Xi had someone give the doctor a reward. Give more, give more. The food had all gone cold, so he had a few hot dishes prepared again. This time, he didn't pour me wine, but instead served me some soup. Grandma watched with red-rimmed eyes the whole time, smiling, and couldn't resist indulging in a few extra sips. She took my hand and Zhong Xi's, placing them together, and said with emotion, "You two must take good care of each other, for a lifetime." Zhong Xi kept nodding, behaving very obediently. On the way back to the main courtyard, Zhong Xi said, "In a couple of days, I'll have my parents return home." I was a bit puzzled. They want me to adopt a child. Now that I have both a son and a daughter, I have heirs. I'm afraid if they stay here any longer. Zhong Xi held my hand tightly. "We've already lost one child. We can't afford to lose another. I won't harm others, but we must guard against ill intentions. If they were to harm you, what could I do? Kill them? I can't kill them, nor can I fight them. It's better to send them away early. Once the child is born, you've recovered your health, and you're familiar with Chang'an, and everyone in the household dares not defy you in secret. We can bring them back to live with us for a year or two to fulfill our filial duties and silence the gossips." I really can't say Zhong Xi is being overly worried. His parents do have quite a few tricks up their sleeves, and they're biased. Biased parents are most skilled at using filial piety to pressure others, robbing the rich to help the poor. Then you'll have to bring it up yourself. I don't want to be criticized and accused of being a daughter-in-law who can't tolerate the elderly. Her father-in-law, mother-in-law, and two sisters-in-law were indeed unwilling to return. They all wanted to stay in Chang'an and bring the rest of the family there. Zhong Xi was determined to send them back, as they missed their home. And it would also spare their family from worrying about them. I've prepared quite a few things, but not a single coin was given. My mother-in-law came to me in tears. Now that he's grown his wings, he insists on driving us away as soon as he says so. "Ian, our family has treated you well over the years. Go talk to Zhongxi, persuade him to let us stay, and then bring them to Chang'an so we can all reunite as a family." This calculation is so blatant. The abacus beads are practically flying into my face. "Mother, I can't make decisions for Zhongxi either." They also knew that Zhongxi's decisions weren't something just anyone could make, especially Zhongxi's words. Back then, my parents said they couldn't bear to let my eldest brother, second brother, or younger brother join the army, so they forced me to go at the risk of death. They abandoned me as their son, so my life, death, and prosperity have nothing to do with you anymore. I am willing to support you, so take it. If I'm not, you can sue or make a scene if you want. That's all the affection there is. Once it's gone, it's gone. As soon as Zhong Xi said this, his parents didn't dare to make a scene or even utter an extra word. They knew they couldn't get any money and could only ask for more things. Then they were escorted back to their hometown. But some things don't just fade away quietly just because we step back. When I was 3 months pregnant but hadn't announced it publicly yet, Princess Pingning once again openly expressed her affection for Zhong Xi in front of everyone. Zhong Xi immediately refused, citing that he already had a wife. Princess Pingning, humiliated and enraged, threatened Zhong Xi, telling him to just wait and see. Her wait and see wasn't directed at Zhong Xi, but rather at me. She spread rumors that I was infertile, calling me an old hen that couldn't lay eggs. I gently stroked my slightly swollen belly and looked at Zhong Xi, who had hurried back. "What do you plan to do?" Zhong Xi let out a cold snort. "They're just like grasshoppers in late autumn. They won't be able to jump around for much longer. Stay in the residence these days and don't go anywhere. Leave the rest to me." Since he said so, it seemed he had already made arrangements and decisions. That day, the ambiguous words spoken before the Emperor and Empress were indeed meant to stir trouble, implying that Princess Pingning's actions had her father's tacit approval. Her father, Prince Li, harbored rebellious intentions, which is why he sent his daughter to act. Her claims of love at first sight were merely a pretense to seize the military power in his hands. Rebellion. How could one tolerate others sleeping and coveting right beside their own bed? Could the emperor truly have no suspicions or doubts in his heart? My pregnancy was confirmed by the imperial physicians. Yet Princess Pingning seemed completely unaware of the news. This clearly indicates that someone had ordered the physicians to keep their mouths shut. The only person who can silence the imperial physician is none other than the current emperor. I followed Zhong Xi's advice, staying home every day to organize the storeroom. The more treasures I saw, the more my horizons broadened, the more unfamiliar characters I encountered, the more I gradually recognized, wrote, and understood their deeper meanings. I watched Zhong Xi bustling about. I couldn't help but wonder, do I love him? Does he love me? The word love seems too vague. Without a clear definition, he gives his all to this family. When he returns, he always comes to see me first, checks on grandma, and then attends to his own matters. He has never asked me for money, but he brings it home and tells me which parts one can use freely and which I should not misuse. As for whether he keeps a mistress outside, how would I know, and how could I even investigate? With my limited abilities, if he intended to hide, I wouldn't be able to find out. Thinking carefully, what do I have to offer? I'm getting older. My father is just a Tongxing. My maternal family owns a few meager acres of land. And though my brother has made some progress by passing the Shotsai exam, that's as far as it goes. If it's for reputation, I don't think Zhong Xi is someone who values reputation. Now that he treats me well, I naturally must treat him even better, be filial to grandma, and raise our children well. As for the rest, one should be muddled when it's time to be muddled, and clever when it's time to be clever, work hard when it's time to work hard. Everything I strive to learn will ensure that, even if unforeseen misfortunes occur in the future, I won't be left with nothing to my name. After coming to this realization, I found myself with plenty to keep busy with. Chang'an gathered talented and skilled individuals from all over, with many excelling in culinary arts, especially in making various pastries and sweet soups. Before learning from these cooks, I always asked for their consent and offered them a sum of silver, if she was willing to teach a few apprentices, and eventually open a pastry and sweet soup shop. She would be the head chef and could share in the profits. Having been one of the common people myself, I know the bitterness of being oppressed, so I will not bully them. A win-win situation is good for her, good for me, and good for everyone. If unwilling, I will not force it. Summer passed, autumn arrived, and by the time I was 7 months pregnant, my pastry shop in Chang'an had also opened, perhaps because it was opened by the general's wife. The business was quite good. When the pastry manager